5528 St. Ferdinand Drive, New Orleans, Louisiana. This is the house that Mildred and Elmo Williams built in one of the oldest planned African American communities in the country, Pontchartrain Park. From an outsider's perspective, it may not look like much, but when I was a kid growing up in New Orleans, my grandparents' home was the center of my universe. This is where my family always came together for holidays, barbecues, birthday parties, and to watch New Orleans Saints football games, of course. It's the house my mother grew up in and where her sister and brothers came home from the hospital to. This was a close-knit community. Everybody knew everybody. It was safe, and neighbors were more like family. Although technically my mom and me lived in New Orleans East, this was the backyard where me and my childhood friends played with our Barbies and practiced for our Pink Ladies and T-Bird Club initiation ceremony. Even as an adult, it was always comforting to return home and know that was always there. That all changed on August 29, 2005. When Hurricane Katrina overpowered the levees that were supposed to protect Pontchartrain Park. Much of our beloved community was submerged under 6 to 8 feet of water. Everybody lost everything, and I do mean everything. 5 years later, Pontchartrain Park is still not back to where it was before Katrina. This is the other part of the Ninth Ward that you don't hear about as much. I chose to focus my project on the rebuilding of the park, in tribute to the Russells, the Barberans, the Browns, the Bodys, the Rosses, the Guillemonts, the Washingtons, the Baziers, the Josephs, the many families of St. Ferdinand Drive who made my childhood there so great. Now a lot of them are gone, never to return again. Most of all, I did this project for my 80-year-old grandmother, Mildred Williams, who lived with us for 3 years in Atlanta after Katrina, while my uncle sorted out the mess of rebuilding. She got sick the day before she was supposed to return to Pontchartrain Park to see her newly remodeled home for the first time. She never made it back to 5528 St. Ferdinand Drive.
Pontchartrain Park neighborhood is one of the stronger neighborhoods that come really, really quickly.
It haven't come back as fast as I thought it would.
It may not look like it.
You got the homes that's beautiful here, and then next door they got empty lots and houses that still looking bad.
And you can see buses driving by, kids playing around. You see the mailman, delivering mails.
Elementary and junior high school for the children to attend. I don't see any of those schools back online.
As a whole, in Pontchartrain Park, you have about 60 to 65% of the neighborhood back.
All I know is that it's not happening. It's not happening.
The agreement was to have the properties demolished prior to transferring the properties to the developer. And NORA, the agency that I work for, is not in charge of doing the demolition. The state, who actually have control of the properties, is handling the demolition.
The process is too slow.
So the challenge is really until we have all of the properties transferred, then we're not going to see a lot of houses being built.
I want my mom to get back in the house, for her to have some peace in her own home, not in somebody else's, not paying anybody rent because she had a house that was paid for.
To be quite frank, you're dealing with the public sector. And there's certain bureaucracies, you have to do certain environmental issues. And once you find there's an environmental issue that needs to be cleared up, the public sector, to be quite honest, it's a little slower than the private sector.
We still surviving, and I know that eventually things are gonna work out. We'll be back in the house again.
We want folks to be back. That's going to take all the stakeholders that are involved, our developer partner, our agency, and the city of New Orleans and the state of Louisiana working together and trying to bring back this neighborhood. We are here for the long haul to see this neighborhood come back.
There's political football that is played with the lives of people who are trying to rebuild their lives here in New Orleans.
Yeah, well, we hate going in here.
Yeah, I don't think I ever been. This was the living room. Okay, this was the dining room. Right here. This was a den, and it was 2 bedrooms back here. The master bedroom, and it was just another bedroom.
32 years, and then you don't have nothing after that, you know. You go to these different places, they tell you one price, and when you get through dealing with them, the price they went up double what they said.
I'm 83. 1959, that's when I moved out here. I got only $8,000. That's what I got. And a little money from the road home.
The federal government, there's always things that they can do more and better. But in this case here, from what we've evaluated, I think the dollars were allocated to the city. But what happened between the federal government, the state, and the city? That's the question. And when you look at that, you have people who are now waiting 3 years, 5 years, until that gets figured out. Well, now that $50,000, it's been depleted because they've got to live absentee until that gets resolved. So most of the people are now out of all the money.
And the real crime is the fact that the federal government sent $3.9 billion to Louisiana for the recovery after Katrina and Rita. And a small percentage of that has been paid out.
We brought the paperwork in, so then I checked to see, how everything is going. Oh, we need this and this, but this is the paper that I just bought last week. So now they no longer have their paper, which means that it's been pushed back again because now I got to get the same paper. Then, okay, they tell me I need something else. I bring that back, and they still can't find other paperwork. So it's like, you have got to be kidding.
It seems like if you had homeowners insurance and flood insurance and a member of the working class society, you were slighted. I am being slighted. Every program I apply for, I'm rejected.
The biggest issue to the people in the storm is the insurance. It was the insurance and the type of insurance, because they had a false safety net that with the storm, I'm going to be able to file my claim and get my replacement house back.
Your homeowner's insurance didn't give you a penny. And we have been paying homeowners insurance for 50 years. And then they're going to come up and say, that was flood. It wasn't rain or wind or fire or what have you. But it was the wind that made the wave that pushed the water.
We did have, some insurance money, and Road Home only offered us very little. So with insurance and Road Home, it really wasn't enough to rebuild from scratch.
It's not bad, and you miss all your neighbors you had in the park and all that,
Now you have people who are now retirees, who were gainfully employed for many, many, many years, very good jobs, but because they're seniors today, the children are gone, their retirement income and where they sit in time, now they're classified as low to moderate income people. Not because they're welfare driven or welfare determined, it's because they retired and then they're out of the gainful employment game.
And these homeowners and these senior citizens now, they want to get back in it. They want to get back to the normalcy that they experienced pre-Katrina.
I would love to get back in my house. I would love to see them give us the grant that they said they were going to give us. to let us go ahead and get back in our houses.
People talk about what they're going to do. We're doing it.
Well, the relationship with Wendell Pierce really came from the relationship with Henry Consulting.
My message first to Wendell is, look, I'm busy, my company is busy, and you're right, somebody needs to do it, but it ain't us. And if you know anything about Wendell Pierce, you'll find out that no is not in his vocabulary.
Troy asked if we could assist his childhood friend, Wendell Pierce, in trying to rebuild the community in which he grew up in.
And I was really concerned that we were still at the second lowest rate of return in the city, less than 40% at the time. Second only to the lower ninth, which is the epicenter of the disaster.
He's just persistent enough to the point where he insisted that we do something about it. And his message was, look, Troy, you're smart. You'll figure out how to do it. I'm an actor. We're going to make this happen. I said, Wendell, I'm not in real estate. He says, well, you are now, because we're going to make this happen.
African American men can come together in a true partnership. We are the owners of the company, 100% African American owned companies.
So we began formulating a team and seeking out companies that could help us with the redevelopment effort. We sought out a law firm, we sought out another African American owned development company. And then we sought out a partnership with the city.
My idea was the fact that we resurrected Pontchartrain Park Neighborhood Association, but along with the Neighborhood Association, which would take care of the everyday sort of quality of life issues, we needed to create an economic engine to protect ourselves from those who didn't have our best interests at heart, so that, God forbid, some disaster happens like this again, that we can be self-sufficient.
We take them through the process of, I want to move back into Pontchartrain Park, or I want to rebuild my home into Pontchartrain Park, into a program of, okay, here are the opportunities for you to rebuild that home.
So with the subsidies and the credits and the things that we've been able to cobble together for those residents, we've been able to buy down the cost associated with these upgrades and things like that, so that the home is still affordable.
We can walk these applications through the process so that people don't feel like they're going through the maze.
We're set up to build and replace over 550 housing units in this general community, Gentilly Woods and Pontchartrain Park.
Brad Pitt project is like 150 homes. Global Green, as much attention as they've gotten, as much foundation money, are only doing 2 houses.
And you have over 1,000 housing units that has to be replaced in this community footprint.
It's going to be one of the largest affordable housing green developments in the country, because every home will be geothermal. Every home will be LEED certified silver, which is the barometer by which the energy department judges homes. And people can go up to solar.
Well, with the homes we designed, we went and researched a building science, and it's a stalwart built home science. And that science allows us to build a house on a performance basis that takes the annual consumption cost of the utility bill, less water, down anywhere between $300 to $500, $700 a year for the whole year.
It is the first thing of scale in the city that any plan has been put down. And quite frankly, even though the city and the state and NORA hasn't said anything, we are the ones that brought solutions to the table and have guided them, and they're using some of our matrix in other parts of the city. And I think that's historic. We put together a team that had community support, that came out of the community, that had the expertise, and that represents what Pontchartrain Park is all about.
This is the only area he knows. He was born and raised right in this neighborhood. Ron and Wendell were on the bitty basketball team. That's when you take the better ones from every neighborhood and they travel all over. They go to New York, New Jersey, and then all over the state, playing the top teams. He was on the basketball team at Ben Franklin. And when they brought the report card home, I said, turn in the basketball uniform tomorrow. Tell your coach you're no longer on the team. Why? I say, because you're not able to play basketball and study. I'm going to do better. Conversation's over. Our motto was, you don't have to go to school if you don't want to, but please have a job in your own apartment by 5 o'clock. That was all.
I was known for most of my life as Mrs. Pierce's son. Aren't you Mrs. Pierce's son? Yes, I am. Now she's Wendell Pierce's mother. How things change.
This neighborhood has always been strong. It has been filled with home ownership, filled with families that had a strong belief in education.
And he just adored it because when he was coming up and on the playground, other kids from other areas had to come over wanting to be a part of this.
It was idyllic. This neighborhood was idyllic, and it was perfect for what we had, and it was perfect for rebuilding.
Years ago on a visit home, after I got my parents back into their home, neighbors came to me and said, Wendell, you need to get involved. Bring whatever attention you can to the neighborhood.
We need to get together and do something because it looks like nobody is really interested in the park or trying to keep it up. So he said, well, all right, I'm going to be back here on such and such a date.
I really put out a call to action.
Get a little group together, a core group.
To people of my generation who grew up in Pontchartrain Park, who reaped the benefits of growing up in one of the most stable neighborhoods in America.
And you could come to my mama's house, and then he's going to turn around and tell me, we're going to have a meeting at your house on such and such a date. Huh? And you can only get what you need when you get out and fight for it.
One of the first people I reached out to was Troy Henry, who is a very successful management consultant here in town. And but most importantly, he grew up with me.
He's just persistent enough to the point where he insisted that we do something about it.
His managing partners at the time grew up in Pontchartrain Park.
Henry Consultant was also one of the lead consultants on the UNOT plan, which was the redevelopment plan for the whole city that was adopted by council and the federal government as well as the state. So there was a platform for us to work with.
And that call to action was our right to exercise our right of return, exercise a right of self-determination. My idea was the fact that we resurrected Pontchartrain Park Neighborhood Association, but along with the Neighborhood Association, which would take care of the everyday quality of life issues, we needed to create an economic engine to protect ourselves from those who didn't have our best interests at heart, so that, God forbid, some disaster happens like this again, that we can be self-sufficient. We hope to do 500 homes over the next 5 to 7 years.
He's a well-known actor. He doesn't have to come back home. He doesn't have to come back home to the Pontchartrain Park area and do anything because personally he's okay, but he has a need to come back home to rebuild his community because he knows this is where he came up from.
The level of trust that exists in the community and our relationship with the residents is very, very strong because they know, look, my mom and dad still live there. Wendell's mom and dad still live there.
The one strength that we all have is the fact that we have the intellect, we have the intellectual property, we have the skill set to do it ourselves. And that's the thing that you have to tap into. It's easy to complain, and we should complain. We should never lose the ability to be offended. But in spite of this condition, I will triumph. That's the American aesthetic. And embracing that is what any group of people need to do. And I think that's the most important thing to do.
I don't think there was not one person that didn't have, any effect from the water from Katrina.
Most parts of Pontchartrain Park got about 8 feet of water in the house. That water sat there for over 2 weeks, murky, muddy, just rotten water.
Yeah, it's kind of rough. You work all your life and you look around, you don't have nothing.
So I miss the family activities for the holidays. It's really depressing.
They figure it's been 5 years that we should be past. You know, all that old Hurricane Katrina, you know, I'm tired of hearing about Hurricane Katrina, you know. But they don't realize that it changed so many people's lives, you know. It's a hard thing.
People have moved out, and we don't see hardly anyone anymore.
You're just lost. That's what Katrina did. It sort of just grabbed you up out of a lovely place and sort of threw you away.
It was really a nice, quiet place, you know, to live in. And we never had too much any problems. It was just, you know, a real nice place to live and raise your children.
A pretty idyllic neighborhood that has the infrastructure there. Housing, churches, schools, recreation and the golf course, near the lake, and great neighbors, low crime and home ownership.
A community that was 97% home ownership for almost 50 years before the storm.
In the last 10 years, at the height of recession, from 2000 to 2010, only 8 foreclosures out of 1,000 homes. So that's the sort of stable neighborhood that it is.
It was nice, but everything must change.
Well, we had water up to the ceiling here. Floor to the ceiling, that's 8 feet. So I guess it's 9 feet when you figure outside. So it's 9 feet of water. We went to Texas, then to Maryland, then back to Texas, to New Orleans, back to Texas, back to New Orleans, to Lakeview, to here.
Most of the Pontchartrain Park residents were senior citizens. And so not only did it ruin the homes, it also, you know, sapped the energy from those senior citizens, their spirit.
7 kids, we've had 4 that were born here. They're the ones that put the gun in our head and told us we better not sell. That's too much of family history there. I think we just had a strong bond for this house and we didn't want to go.
The good memories I have of my house is that for every holiday my family was over here. We would have cookouts in the backyard or in the dining room, and then I had 8.5 feet of water in my house. And where I'm living at now, I don't have the space that I had when I was living out here to give those cookouts. Since the aftermath of Katrina, there's still a lot of scents and trash. It's not clean like it was before Katrina.
So we were out for like about 15 months. We left in August, September, October, November. Yeah, 15 months. We had gone to Baton Rouge, and my son bought a house in Baton Rouge. And everybody who came, you know, friends of mine, said, "Oh, you have such a nice big house and this big old house. You're gonna leave and go back." I said, "I don't care if I have one room. I want to go back."